Chapter 1, Lesson 4 is going to be about rewriting equations and formulas. We are still working in the standard where you will be able to solve equations in one variable. We are introducing equations that have two variables or more, but it's to strengthen our ability to solve any equation that's put in front of us. Our target: solve literal equations for given variables is really there to help strengthen our ability to solve our equations in one variable. Now, what is a literal equation? A literal equation is an equation that has two or more variables in it. It states that to rewrite a literal equation, solve for one variable in terms of the other variables. What we're going to do is we are going to isolate the variable that we are being asked to find. It will not be the only variable in the equation, but our focus is the variable that they have asked us for. Jumping right into our first example, we will be using our equation solving skills to do this. Solve the equation 2y plus 5x equals 6 for y. So we are trying to get the y variable by itself. What might be helpful to do is to think about what's happening to y. Well, we have 2 times y, then plus 5x. What we can do is we can undo each of those pieces so that we can get the y by itself. The last thing that happened to y was the plus 5x. So we'll undo that by moving it to the opposite side. So the opposite of a 5x would be a minus 5x. I still have my 2y that I haven't touched yet. It is equal to... Now, over on the right, we have a 6 and we have a minus 5x. Those pieces cannot be combined. They are not like terms. And since they are not like terms, what we're going to do is we're going to write them side by side. And we can write it, since it says 6 minus 5x, we can just write it as 6 minus 5x. We almost have y by itself. But there's still one other thing that is occurring with the y. it's still being multiplied by 2. So in order to remove the multiply by 2, we need to divide by 2. Two divided by 2 is 1y. And when we divide by 2 over on the right side of the equation, what we do is we do 6 divided by 2, which is 3, followed by negative 5x divided by 2. Now, we can't do that and get a whole number. So what we can do is, well, negative divided by a positive is negative. And we can leave the 5 divided by 2 as a fraction, giving me negative 5 over 2 times x. When we reach chapter 2, we're going to be working with equations like this that are specifically in the format of y equals mx plus b. We'll talk more about those come chapter 2. Let's move on to rewriting some formulas. Rewriting the formulas helps lead into our later units, where we're going to be working with formulas for different shapes. This will allow us to start to introduce some of that while strengthening our equation solving skills. The formula for the surface area S of a cone is S equals pi r squared plus pi rl. Solve the formula for the slant height L. So I want to get L by itself. Well, something to point out is that L is being multiplied by pi and multiplied by r. Then it's being added to the pi r squared. So let's undo those pieces, moving them to the opposite side to get the L by itself. To begin, we work our way backwards, and the last thing that happened is that it got added to the pi r squared. It's a positive pi r squared, so to remove that term, we're going to subtract pi r squared from the right and subtract it from the left. On the right, all that's remaining is my pi times R times L. But on the left, I have two pieces that are not like terms. I have my S, and I'm subtracting from it pi r squared, which leaves me with this new equation. We're still working on trying to get the slant height by itself, but it's being multiplied by pi and r. So to undo that, let's use our division property. Let's divide by everything that's being multiplied to the L. Now, pi times r divided by pi times r leaves me with 1L for my slant height. And on the left side, we can just simplify it to be S minus the pi r squared divided by pi r. It could be rewritten in a few different ways, but the most important part is we got the slant height by itself. We're using the same equation solving skills that we've been using with our one variable equations. We just need to make sure we're being extra careful as we are working with all these variables in one equation. Let's do two more formulas rather quickly. The first one is that area is equal to base times height. And I want to get the base by itself. Since it's base times height, if I divide by the height on each side, I can get that the base is just the area divided by the height. Over on the right, I is equal to P times R times T. So if I want to get P by itself, I can divide by the other factors, R and T. So P is equal to I divided by RT. That concludes this look at Chapter 1, Lesson 4. Again, we're strengthening our equation solving skills by looking at literal equations, which are equations with more than one or more than two variables.